Hello friends, the today's e-learning topic is subcutaneous mycosis. Let us start with the subcutaneous mycosis. The agent of subcutaneous mycosis usually inhabit the soil. They enter the skin by traumatic inoculation with contaminated material and tend to produce the granulomatous lesions in the subcutaneous tissues. So here is the list of agents that will be that causes the subcutaneous mycosis. The first and very important is mycetoma. Then there is a sporotrichosis. Then chromoblastomycosis, pheohypomycosis, and at last the rhinosporidiosis. So we will see the one by one. So first we will start with the mycetoma. This is very important subtopic among this all. Okay, so we will start with the mycetoma first. Mycetoma is a chronic, slowly progressive granulomatous infection of the skin and subcutaneous tissues. Clinically, mycetoma is also known as the Madura mycosis or Madura foot, as it was first described in Madurai in South India by John Gill in 1842. Clinically, it is manifested as triad of swelling, discharging sinuses, and presence of granules in the discharge. So, patient come with these three clinically picture. So, here is the types of mycetoma and causative agent. Mycetoma can be of two types. One is the eumycetoma and other is actinomycetoma. The eumycetoma is caused by the fungi and the actinomycetoma is caused by the bacteria. We had already discussed the actinomycetoma. And the third one is there is a mycetoma like condition that is called the botryomycosis, which is caused by the Staphylococcus aureus. So these are the types of mycetoma. Then there is a list of organisms that can causes the mycetoma. Here is the list of both the eumycetoma and actinomycetoma causing organism. Now there is a discharging of the granules. Some granules are of black or white color and some are the whitish, yellowish or pink to red color granules. Basically, eumycetoma can discharge the black color granules. The organism that can discharge this type of granules is Madurella mycetomatis, then Madurella gracia and other species. While white granules is discharged by the Aspergillus nidulans, Acremonium species, Fusarium species, etc. Then there is a list of bacteria that can cause the actinomycetoma and can discharge the white to yellow color granules. And the most common and most important is Nocardia species, which is acid fast but weak acid fast. And then Streptomyces, Actinomadura, this all bacteria can cause the actinomycetoma and discharge the white to yellow color granules. Then there is another bacteria that can produce the pink to red color granules, that is Actinomadura. Okay, so this is the list of organisms that causes mycetoma. So we will discuss only eumycetoma in this segment and we will compare eumycetoma with actinomycetoma. Now the pathogenesis of the eumycetoma. The causative agent, that is the fungus, enters the skin or subcutaneous tissue from the contaminated soil, usually by the accidental trauma such as thorn prick or splinter injury. Then the disease evolves slowly, initially into microabscess are formed by the polymorphs, replaced later by the chronic granulomatous tissue in skin and soft tissue. Okay, so here is the pathogenesis. Basically the accidental trauma will be there, and then from the contaminated soil the fungus is going to enter through this trauma or injury, and then while the disease is produced, and then First, there is a microabscess which is going to replace by the chronic granulomatous tissue in skin and subcutaneous tissue. This is how the diseases progress. So, patient come with the clinically triad. Okay, the first is tumor-like swelling, that is called tumefaction. You can see in the picture there is a swelling of the foot. Then second point of this triad is discharging sinuses. You can clearly see the sinuses. And the third is granules. The granules are going to discharge from this sinus. Eumycetoma and actinomycetoma are very clinically. So the most common site are affected from the body is feet. You can see in the picture. Although any site can be involved. There may be involvement of the underlying fascia or bones or producing the osteolytic or osteosclerotic bone lesion. If there is infection of eumycetoma, then there is a osteosclerotic lesion will be there, while in the case of actinomycetoma, there is a osteolytic lesion. It is usually painless. Okay, so you can see in the picture there is a producing of the granules from the nodules. Then there is a difference between eumycetoma and actinomycetoma. So here are some points. From this we can differentiate the eumycetoma from actinomycetoma. This can be asked in your paper. So the first of all, the tumor. So tumor of the eumycetoma is single and well defined margin, while in actinomycetoma there is a multiple tumor will be there. Then the sinus. The sinus in the case of eumycetoma appear late and there is a few in number, while in the actinomycetoma this appear early and there is a numerous sinuses will be there. Discharge in the eumycetoma is serous, while in the actinomycetoma there is a purulent discharge because of the bacteria. Then the grains, mostly the black color or white color grains will be there in eumycetoma, while in the actinomycetoma there is a whitish to yellowish or pink to red color granules will be there in discharging granules in the actinomycetoma, while the bone there is a osteosclerotic in the case of eumycetoma and osteolytic in the case of actinomycetoma. Then grains contain more than 2 micrometer of the fungal hyphae, while filamentous bacteria there is a less than 2 micrometer width of the fungal the size of these filaments that produced by the bacteria. So here is the difference between eumycetoma versus actinomycetoma. Now the laboratory diagnosis part. The first is specimen collection. The lesion should be cleaned with antiseptics and the grains or the granules should be collected by the pressing the sinuses from periphery or by using the lube. Then we will do the direct examination. Granules are thoroughly washed in the sterile saline and crushed between the slides and examined. So you can collect the granules and you can crush the granules between the two slides, and this slide is going to be directly examined under the microscope, or you can do the stains. Then microscopic appearance of the granules. You can see the color, size, shape and structure. This is how you can differentiate the eumycetoma from actinomycetoma. So suspected eumycetoma, you can use the KOH mount because it is a fungal, the hyphae of 2 to 6 micrometer width along with chlamydosporate margin. And in the case of actinomycetoma, you can do the gram stain, as the bacteria that can cause the actinomycetoma are mostly a gram positive, that having a less than 2 micrometer width. Then in the case of nocardia, you can see the weakly acid fast structure. Then the culture. Granules are the best specimen for the culture. You can use the SDA in the case of eumycetoma and LJ media or blood agar in the case of the actinomycetoma, because it can caused by the bacteria. So there is a LJ medium and blood agar we can use. eumycetoma agent, you can record the growth rate, you can observe the colony morphology, production of the conidia, and the sugar assimilation patterns. This is how you can differentiate the fungus, the bunch of fungus that can cause the eumycetoma. While in the case of actinomycetoma, you can observe the growth rate, colony morphology, urease test, acid fast test, decomposition of the media containing casein, tyrosine, xanthine, etc. This is how you can differentiate the bacteria that can cause the actinomycetoma. Okay, so this was about the mycetoma. Now we will move towards the sporotrichosis. Sporotrichosis, this is also called the rose gardener's disease, is presented as subcutaneous nodulo the sporotrichosis that can be also called the rose gardener's disease is presented as subcutaneous nodulo ulcerative lesion. That can caused by the thermally dimorphic fungus that is called the Sporothrix schenckii. Now the pathogenesis part of this sporotrichosis. The spores of this fungus are introduced into a skin following the minor trauma caused by thorn prick or splinter injury. Enzymes secreted by this fungus such as serine protease and aspartic protease help into the local invasion. This fungus has a typical tendency to spread along the lymphatics. This is how the clinical manifestation occurs. So in the clinical picture of this disease is a chronic subcutaneous pyogranulomatous disease. Incubation period is about 3 weeks. Various clinical types have been observed. The first and most important is lymphocutaneous type, where it is most common type, as it can having a 80% of the chances to develop this type of infection in sporotrichosis. The nodulo-ulcerative lesion occur along the lymphatics, that is called the sporotrochlete pattern of spread, which is also seen in other conditions. Then other clinical types are, first is osteoarticular type. It is seen among the alcoholics. Then second is pulmonary type. It occurs following spore inhalation seen in people with underlying COPD. Then disseminated sporotrichosis. It occurs into a mostly immunocompromised patients such as AIDS. Then fixed cutaneous type. Single nodule is found that is less progressive and does not spread by lymphatics. It is more common in endemic areas such as Mexico, where people show strong immunity against the fungus. Then the laboratory diagnosis of sporotrichosis. First, a specimen collection. You can collect the pus or aspirate from the nodules, or you can take the swab from the ulcer. Then you will do the direct microscopy. For that you need a KOH mount or calcofluor staining. In this KOH mount or the staining, there is a elongated yeast cells will be observed, that is of 3 to 5 micrometer in diameter. Then histopathological staining, you can observe the cigar shaped asteroid bodies. Asteroid bodies is basically a central basophilic yeast cell which is surrounded by the radiating extension of the eosinophilic mask. This is called the asteroid body, which is a characteristic feature of this sporotrichosis. Then the culture. It is most definitive tool for diagnosis. For that you need a SDN blood agar. You can do the culture in SDN blood agar. You can incubate this agar into 25 degrees Celsius and 37 degrees Celsius simultaneously, because it is a dimorphic fungi. So you will use this 2 agar, and you can put a two set of this. One is going to be put it on a 25 degrees Celsius and other is for 37 degrees Celsius incubation. At 25 degrees Celsius, there is a production of the mycelial foam, which consists of slender, delicate hyphae with conidia arranged in a flower-like pattern. And at 37 degrees Celsius, it produces the yeast foam, which is characterized by moist, creamy white colony, which turn brown black into a 10 to 14 days. Okay, so this is how you can observe your culture. Then this is the picture of the yeast foam, that is asteroid body, that will be produced at 37 degrees Celsius, while there is a mold form that's showing a thin septate hyphae with flower-like sporulation. So these two are the picture of the Sporothrix schenki. Then chromoblastomycosis. Blastomycosis refers to slow-growing chronic subcutaneous lesion caused by group of Dimaceous or fungus. Dimaceous means there is a darkly pigmented fungus. Then the lesion. There is a characteristic feature of this fungus is sclerotic body. There is a brown, thick-walled round cell that is of 5 to 12 micrometer in size with multiple internal transverse septa will be there. Then agents of this disease, the first is Fontia piderosi, then Fialophora, then there is another agent that can cause the subcutaneous mycosis, that is called pheohypomycosis. This disease refers to the chronic subcutaneous lesion that can caused by the Dimaceous fungi, that is a darkly pigmented fungi. Here it can differentiate from the chromoblastomycosis that it does not produce the sclerotic bodies. Okay, chromoblastomycosis can produce the sclerotic bodies, while pheohypomycosis it does not produce the sclerotic bodies. This will only produce the mycelial foam, and the agents that can cause this type of infection is Alternaria species, Bipolaris species, and others. Okay, and the last type of infection of subcutaneous mycosis is rhinosporidiosis. Rhinosporidiosis is a chronic granulomatous disease which is characterized by the large friable polyp in the nose. Okay, this is the important clinical feature that can differentiate the rhinosporidiosis from the other subcutaneous disease. The nose is the most common site, while other site will be also there, that is conjunctiva, and occasionally in the ears, larynx, bronchus, and genitalia. The agent that can cause the rhinosporidiosis is Rhinosporidium seberi. Its taxonomic status is controversial. Previously classified under the fungi, now it is considered as an aquatic parasite. The source of this infection is stagnant water. Spores are inhaled while taking bath in contaminated ponds and river. Diagnosis is made by the histopathology of polyps that demonstrate the spherules, which is a large sporangia up to 350 micrometer in size that contains numerous endospores, each 6 to 9 micrometer in the size. Okay, so this were all about the subcutaneous mycosis. Okay, so we had already discussed the 5 type of infection, that is mycetoma, then sporotrichosis, chromoblastomycosis, pheohypomycosis, and last the rhinosporidiosis. So this is all about the subcutaneous mycosis. I hope you can like it. Thank you.